quick sidebar. How are you on time? I know we've gone over. I want to make sure you're good. Everybody else is good. We're good. Good.
At some point, I'll just tell you, lunch might come through my door.
Well, that's nice.
But,
wow.
What are we having?
Yep.
I think today is the Taco Bell $5 box, and talking about being healthy. So here's a side story to that.
Here, this might be the pre-interview intro right here. This is so great. Welcome back to the Ministry Without Hating It podcast, a ministry of Odyssey Haven coaching and counseling dedicated to the pursuit of answering the question, is it possible to do ministry without hating it? We have a theory that just might be. I'm here. I'm Chad. Brenton is literally mimicking me as I do this because he's heard me say this about 100 times at this point, even though this is like, what, episode 25 or something like that?
Yeah,
so
I
just multiplied it. That's pastor math for you.
Mm-hmm.
Can we start out with a ministry joke right off the front?
Did.
Yeah, we can. What's up? Dude, season 3.
Happy 3.
How did this happen?
His birthday. Are we going to get a cake?
I'll send it to you.
Deal.
I will. I'm not going to say who because they're not sponsoring, so never mind. I was going to say, I will food service delivery that to you.
Yeah.
No, season 3. We are so excited to be here. Blessed. In fact, I don't say that like hashtag blessed. Like I actually mean it. Like I was just thinking. I've been trying to do this thing, Brenton, where I just step back each morning during just a time of prayer or whatever, and just actually thank the Lord for even if they seem like random things. And one of them was the fact that we get to do this. This has been enriching for us personally. I know you've said that as well, as we get to hear from all these different leaders. But it's also been great as we hear how it's really helping and encouraging those that are listening. And so until God says otherwise, we're going to keep going. So we're excited for that. So,
yeah. I've loved all the feedback that we get just out in the wild.
Out in the wild.
Yep.
Ministry Without Hating It, out in the wild. Super fun. So, hey, maybe we should get shirts made.
Out in the wild.
Oh, wow. Out in the wild. Yep. Anyway.
Yep.
Well, as we kick off season 3, episode 1, one of my favorite people, leaders on earth, and just spoken many times into my life, and has maybe even in some ways just mentored me, maybe without even recognizing he's doing so, just by the way he lives and how he's done ministry. And that is Pastor Gary Dunahoo. Brenton, I know you got to meet him, right?
Today was the first time. Yep.
Today. What did you think of this interview?
I will definitely be going back for more information and transformation.
That's good. That's what there you go. Now you've learned the art of the tease. I'm so proud of you. That's so good. Well, yeah, so we are very excited for you all to hear this, especially as we kick off. This is a great way to kick off this new season and really even new season of life and this year. We're so excited for that. And so, hey, what do you say we get to the interview?
Let's do it.
So without further ado, we hope you enjoy our conversation with Pastor Gary Dunahoo. Gary, welcome. I'm laughing because we just had to re-record this. Welcome to the Ministry Without Hating It podcast, helping us kick off our 3rd season. And what an amazing way to do it. Welcome to the podcast. It's good to have you here.
Thank you. Great to be here. Love it.
Wonderful.
Love what you're doing.
We'll see if that changes by the time this is over. So, well, we like to start off with questions that have nothing to do with ministry but need to be asked anyways. And so the first question we've got for you, it was, what was your least favorite food as a child? And do you still hate it or do you love it now?
That's a great question. Well, you guys might not even know there was this cartoon called Popeye the Sailor Man.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of him. Yeah. Yeah.
And my mother used that cartoon against me, thinking that I was just a little bitty guy And so spinach
Spinach.
by far.
Okay.
And so, no, I don't.
You still don't like it.
I'll eat my greens, but I really don't like spinach.
Oh, wow.
No.
I
I
made
felt
a,
manipulated.
Interesting.
there you go. I made a Popeye reference this week in the sermon.
Woohoo!
Yeah,
Come on.
It's like, no, everyone stared at me. They're like, what?
You know what's interesting is usually we're checking ageism stuff against Brenton, and now he's actually on and understands it. So this is a whole new day. I don't even know what to do here. I do have a clarification question though. So is that cooked spinach, or is it like you have spinach and lettuce in your salad?
It's cooked. Yeah,
Okay.
no, mom would boil it.
Okay.
Boil it down and put as much salt on it as I could to just choke it down. So
So
I ate it because I had to, but no, I
Okay.
don't like it now.
so if it's in like the fancier salads, you're just
Yeah. Oh
You're
yeah,
okay?
some of the salads. Absolutely. Yeah.
It's kind of like a
Yeah.
gateway.
What's funny though, I will eat some collard greens by choice.
Oh,
which
interesting.
is like almost a worse choice than spinach.
Yeah, I personally
So
don't
it's just
love them, so I'm with you there. Okay.
yeah.
Well, this salad sidebar brought to you by salad. So if you had to delete, we were talking a little bit about this before. I broke Brenton already. This is awesome.
Yeah.
If you had to delete all but 5 apps from your smartphone, which ones do you keep?
Wow.
I know.
Um,
I know.
Right? Far too many. If I don't consult my grandchildren on the apps that they use on my phone,
Oh, yeah.
right? I would probably keep LinkedIn Learning.
Okay.
I really like that because it's got so much resource, and I like to walk and exercise. When I do, I'll often listen to something
Okay.
developmental. My Kindle app, because I'll read books and read resources there. Very importantly, my Yahoo Sports app.
Oh,
I'm
nice.
totally
Uh-huh.
keeping that.
Uh-huh.
Football fan, big time football fan
Fantasy?
here.
Fantasy football too?
No,
Oh.
no.
Oh, not that deep. Okay, got it. That's fine.
Not that. Yeah, I haven't converted to that yet.
Okay, all right. Be
But also the fitness app. I use the fitness app a lot.
Yeah, me too.
And then now it's getting hard because I'm down to one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you haven't even said the Bible yet, so
I'm probably not.
silently judging you.
I'm probably not going to say the Bible app because I don't use I very seldom use the
Okay.
Bible app.
All right, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, I'm tactical. I like. I really like to hold a book.
I call that
Like,
the analog
that
version. So
Right, it
yeah,
is.
yeah,
It is.
yeah.
It's there. I'd probably go with Instagram, probably.
Oh.
Because sometime between my coaching sessions and stuff that I'm doing, I'll just look up something funny and just have several hits of things funny, and it gets me laughing and kind of keeps me
Okay.
good in between my coaching sessions. So yeah, that's probably the 5.
Got to lighten the load there.
Well,
Yeah.
And I think you've got a nice wide variety there of ones to keep on your phone. So, in fact, I would almost give you a bonus because fitness, doesn't that come baked into that? Because I use it with the watch and everything. So you almost could have like an additional if you needed to. But
Yeah.
I won't put you on the spot.
Yeah.
But
That's cool.
good job.
That's cool.
Good job. All right. Would you rather meet? Would you rather travel back in time to meet your ancestors or to the future to meet your descendants?
Ooh.
I know.
Well,
we're getting heavy real quick.
right. Well, today, and it's a happy occasion, so don't hear this as a sad thing. But 1 year ago today, my father passed away.
Okay.
And so I was just texting with my family before I got on this. It's just blown me away about how fast. But having known them and then seeing my grandkids, I think I would go forward.
Okay.
I would go forward to see my descendants and get to know them.
Yeah.
Right. So I got to meet my great grandparents and so many people all the way up to this point. I would love to go forward.
That's awesome.
That's a great question, by the way.
Oh.
That's the things that make you go,
I know.
and think for a little bit.
That is good. Well, no, I think I would probably want to do the same. To be honest with you, especially, and my kids are still in the house. We're entering into the teenage years. Prayers appreciated, and but what we often talk about, I wonder what they're going to be like or what they're going to become and that kind of thing. And
Oh
so,
yeah.
yeah.
If you saw that future and you go, I'm not sure I like that, then you come back and you're like, I need to shift some stuff in my house.
This is a Back to the Future
It is.
kind of
Yeah,
a thing.
yeah.
Yeah. I get
Yep.
it.
That's exactly what I thought of as soon as you asked the question.
All right, so timestamp this next question a little bit. We're recording this in December, but we're heading into the new year, and by the time this comes out, it'll be January. And so, what is your biggest goal or goals heading into this new year?
About this would get into too much conversation, so I won't give you the whole backstory unless you have questions. But I decided to get healthy.
Okay.
I decided to. I've been healthy a couple times in my life. I lived healthy, but it didn't last. So all transitions and all challenges, and I don't know. Sometimes there's so much comfort in food. Not spinach, but
yeah,
right.
Maybe
foods,
more
right?
spinach needed.
All the sweets. Total. I'm from the South, so all the sweets matter. But I think looking into next year, I've probably had almost 4.5 months of living very healthy, and I can't even describe how much better I feel, how clear I'm thinking, all the stuff that we know.
Yeah.
But this gets into some of the geeky stuff that I studied in my graduate studies about how the mind works and what works for us. But people can know the information, but they don't live it out.
Right.
Yeah.
So I've been doing it, and I've been very conscious, very aware of how often people start slipping back. And I'll just say this much: I lost like 55 pounds like 5 years ago.
Okay.
And I'm not a big guy, and so I just not taken care of myself, and I got to 55 pounds, and I had this goal to get fit. What I didn't know was that has an end on it. To get fit doesn't mean you're going to stay fit.
Yeah.
Right.
That's good.
Let me back up. For me, to get fit didn't mean that I was going to stay fit. And so being able to look back at that and then end up gaining about 40 of that 55 pounds back. Now I've lost that again, but it's not about the weight to me. Really, it is about living healthy. And I'm a baby boomer, so I did an acronym on LIVE, right?
Nice.
I want to love deeply, innovate consistently, right? Value movement. I don't like the word exercise.
That's good.
Right?
Yeah.
And then eat healthy.
Yeah.
And it started really coming from a conviction of if God really did make our bodies, if he really did, and God is smart. Turns out he's really smart.
Yeah. That's good.
Then how can I align that? And we'll talk, I'm sure, more later in some of the leadership stuff, but being a steward leader, how can I really steward the me that he's given me to be? So next year, I want to continue to live healthy because I am right now, and it's going really well. And then, like on a business side, I'm doing really well. I'm grateful for the business I have. I'd like to increase my coaching business for about 20% more.
Okay.
But the biggest thing is to live healthy.
Yeah.
Especially at this age and stage of life.
Okay, so listener, he's grabbing his beard, which is
yes,
full of wisdom, as they say, and so, yeah.
My very gray beard.
That's okay. All right, you said it. That's fine.
White, right? Right. I'll give you the out.
I appreciate that. Although you probably can see it in mine as well. So
I do.
It's getting there. Not quite as much wisdom.
This is about as good as I can go. So
come on,
go Brenton. Non-existent. All right, so that's good. So when does the book, the acronym LIVE, when does that come out? Is that? Are you working on that? It's good.
I'm working on a couple other books, but not that one.
No, that's all right. Well, I've gone ahead and written it down, and my publisher will be reaching out to you for some.
All right, sounds good.
Just kidding. All right, so wrapping this up, and then we'll kind of segue into some of what you were talking about. What are you finding exciting? Maybe in addition to what you just said, or maybe it's more of that. But what do you find exciting that's really motivating you moving forward?
Well, Tammy and I were asked to. Tammy was asked to take some leaders to London, some Foursquare people, and so they said, go with her. And I said, okay, because London's my favorite city in the world.
Okay.
I just love London. I love the accent and how smart the city is. It's just kind of fun. But we went over to an alpha thing, and it was one of those things that you're doing your thing. We're taking these people, wonderful conversations, meals together, so fun. But we were in the church settings, and it was so not complicated what they did. It wasn't hard.
Hmm.
It wasn't flashy. It was just very sincere. And so, I mean, there's a good number of people, all that kind of stuff, but the Holy Spirit is just so present. And I really felt strongly like the Lord said, love your family.
Hmm.
Right?
Wow.
Love your family.
Yeah.
And being on, in the 60s, I'm 64, and being in the 60s, I have a little bit to look back on, and seeing how much of a priority that ministry had been in my life. And when you get older, you do look back, it's kind of like being upon climbing a mountain in a way. You can look back and you can see how a lot of things came together, that when you're in it, you can't see how it's coming together.
Yeah.
You can't see it. So you don't know what you don't know until later. And what I didn't know was how much I've always been kind of like, I would describe myself as a visionary, but that took me out of being present.
Oh, interesting.
That's
okay.
what I didn't know.
Yeah, that's good.
And we're in London, and it was just so simple and so clear. Just love your family. So honestly, I'm really excited to live one day at a time and be in the moments with Tammy, with my kids, my grandkids, and the people that would be in my life. But a lot of it right now is just my family, and not be so future focused. It takes me out of today.
Good.
Yeah. Especially it's really interesting. I think, especially when you head into a new year, a new season, that's oftentimes what we're looking is, all right, what's ahead and beyond. And for you, it's almost sounds like it's almost would seem counter to what
Absolutely.
the advice. So I promise we're going to move on to this other stuff here, but I think this is really, really interesting. I mean, because I don't think, honestly, I've heard that even recently, if when it comes to especially goal setting and having vision and that kind of a thing. And we're very much, you think of leadership trainings or whatever, coaching. It's all vision forward focusing. Maybe unpack a little bit what that looks like of being able to do both, right? Or is that even possible?
Again, I didn't know what I didn't know, because so many of the things that happened as far as vision goes, somehow I took that on a little, I think, too heavy, that I had a responsibility as the lead pastor, to come up with vision and cast all this kind of stuff. I wouldn't agree with that so much now. I would totally do this more collaborative, and did more in my last pastorate, that we really seek God together, because you have all the components of leadership in a church. There's the leader, and then there's leadership. Right? I mean, you got a person that might be an initiator, but then you have a lot of people involved that creates the movement of what we believe collectively God is doing, and believing in God's church and his people and his empowerment to all of us. So what I would say is that looking back, I realized a lot of things I came up with got changed to what God intended anyway.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about being blind or silly. I'm just saying, for me, Gary, being more present today, trusting that God is going to lead us forward. So I would do it collaboratively about where are the goals? What do we believe God is saying to us for this next year? Get that out. But I would not carry as much responsibility in that, and trust God is leading us in order for me to be more present with the people that he's given me.
Wow. That's great. That's a great way of saying that. I mean, because I don't know if I've ever viewed it that way. I mean, I do feel like I view myself, at least I hope they would agree, my team, that it's collaborative in nature. However, I did notice, even as we've been planning for the new year, and specifically, we like to call it a message series playbook of where we're going. It helps us structure everything else around the year.
Excellent.
Around
Excellent.
the theme, that kind of thing. But I got a weight. And usually I love doing it, and some of it maybe just where I'm at, but also too, I had this thought specifically when we were getting towards the latter months of next year of this is more of a chore. And one of the things that I felt in that moment of revelation from the Lord, honestly, I'm not supposed to plan this one. This is supposed to be somebody else on our team that does it. And what would it look like to do that more, like what you're talking about? Of that's more of the present, like you're talking about there. That's a great way of saying that. I don't think I ever really thought of it that way. So thank you.
Well, check this out. Let me geek out for just a second. I chose to use the word collaborative because of how most people understand it. But taking just a moment to kind of double click on that and expand it.
Yeah.
I really like I prefer the word co-creative.
Ooh, okay.
And co-creativity doesn't have answers. It doesn't bring answers to a table. What you have to do, you have to find the question we all want an answer to.
Ooh, okay.
And it can be as simple as, what is God saying to us about 2024?
Mm-hmm.
Right? The word collaborative, to collaborate, originated during war times, early World War I times, when one of us on our team would go to our enemy and collaborate against us.
Oh, wow.
I know that kind of throws a wrench in, right?
Just a little bit. Yeah, just a little bit.
Right?
Okay.
So collaboration is, I have special information that I'm going to share. In that case, they shared it with the enemy. So let's take it out of that context, bring it back into the church. Collaboration is people that have special information. Co-creation, they don't have special information. They have a question. And the conversation allows anything to be said because we're seeking, what is God saying to us? What are you hearing? What are you hearing? What are you hearing? And the more empowered people are to really speak up, that's when then you start hearing the theme of God from us, right? Mm-hmm. So it's a co-creation approach rather than a special knowledge approach.
I need a moment because that's pretty good. That's
the processing wheels are going.
Right. Here we go.
Like, no, this is really good. Like, I almost didn't want to go to what we have next. Like, just pull it out some more. That's really, really great. And especially when you think about the, I say etymology maybe, but where the word collaboration comes from and that kind of thing. And how, the podcast is Ministry Without Hating It, and how that can be a portion of what it feels like is the people who we were with all of a sudden turned on us, or, that kind of a thing. There's all kinds of different little triggers that pops up, even for me. But that the shifting to the co-creative, man, that's great. I think that's great. So,
just invest the time in finding out what question do we collectively want to get an answer to.
Yeah.
And when you know your question, you start seeing the answer.
Yeah. Wow. So podcast over, everyone. We had other questions, but Gary just gave us something that blew us up. So let's
prayer meeting. All right, prayer meeting.
Prayer meeting. Let's just join me in prayer. Posture yourselves. Anyway, Brenton, you're going to say something.
Well, I was just thinking through, like, if we could just implement one thing that we learn each day, or one thing that we take away from what we're talking about, it makes it a lot easier when we just stop early. Just give me one thing and then I can do the one thing. Give me a list, and it gets pretty hard.
Yeah.
Well, when God speaks to you and God's working in you, and then when you start telling other people, I am now concerned about how other people hear what I say, or how I say what I say,
for sure,
from what God is saying to me.
Mm-hmm. And
Brenton, your point of just looking at the Lord's Prayer, the daily bread, right? Living daily. I mean, that's what I heard. That's what God's speaking to me. And it has deeply, deeply affected me to live one day at a time. Right.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
and then being the person that lived into the future. Actually, like a practical example, I'm enjoying the holidays this year, maybe the first time in a super long time, maybe ever,
Yeah.
because I was always in the next year.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And I didn't enjoy the holidays
Yes.
and could be I don't know if you guys are familiar with the word prude,
Uh-huh.
but I could, to my family, I didn't like the holidays. I almost like a prude. It's just like, get it over with. Let's go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this year, what I'm noticing, that's some of the coaching stuff, is just I'm noticing how much I'm just enjoying the holidays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I'm this old, and I don't know that I ever have like this. And so it really is rooted in this trust that God does have my days, and we will figure this out. And we do need to come up with a theme or something so we can start connecting everything in all of our doing, right? That's so incredible.
Yeah.
But the word how we approach that's what's definitely changed for me.
It's funny. It reminds me. I remember this has been some time, in a different ministry setting for me. But I remember I felt like I had all this vision, and I wasn't even the guy in charge, technically within the church that we were leading. I was like an executive role at the time, and I remember just like go go go. And I remember very clearly in one of our services, God saying to me, "I did not give you the vision of the future to forsake the ministry of the present." And to be there.
Beautiful. Thank you.
And that's
I'll quote you.
Oh, well, yeah. There we go. Wonderful. There's hair standing up on my arm right there, Brenton. That's what you know. Gary's going to quote me. But that's what that sounds when I hear you talking about that. And I even think now, gosh, I want to say majority of any anxiety or stress that I'm feeling in this moment is for things that are, into next year, months from now, right. That kind of a thing. I also need to point out this is a record. We have not even left the kickoff questionnaire technically yet, and I almost don't want to leave. Go ahead. What were you gonna say, Brendan?
The irony of that is we were talking about getting rid of kickoff questions at the very beginning of this before you jumped on. So
not necessarily get rid of, it's maybe reimagined, right. But this has been good. We'll pivot just a little bit if that's okay. But kind of saying the same thing. You said something, and we'll get to the main question we usually ask when it comes to ministry and that type of a thing. But I really would, before it gets too far away from this conversation, I would love for you to unpack. You said the word steward leader.
Yep.
Because I think that actually, especially when we start talking about ministry and success and all that type of thing, especially looking ahead, what does that, pull that out for us? What does that mean?
Sure. Again, when you read the Bible, I actually quit calling it reading the Bible. I started calling it listening to God. I really did. It's just words matter to me.
Yeah.
And so what I realized, I was reading the Bible through every year, and I was doing the SOAP journal, scripture, observation, application, prayer. Mm-hmm. Woo!
Yeah.
Right. And I do like that process, right? But getting through the Bible every year, and what I started realizing, I wasn't listening. It was a task for me. I'm talking about the way that I think. It was a task to get accomplished so that in the right settings, I could say, oh yeah, I'm current. I've journaled every day, or I'm, whatever. I didn't know that that's what I was doing until I did. Mm-hmm. And then I'm going, wait a minute. And I started seeing stuff. I'm reading, I think it's Deuteronomy, and about a servant, because, people would lose their land, they would lose their business and become a slave. But in the year of Jubilee, they would be set free. Mm-hmm. And this guy said he chose to stay instead of go free. And he put his ear up to the side of the doorpost, and they put an awl there, and they hammer and put an earring in. And what that meant was I had the choice to be free, but I chose to stay. And the words were, I will love my master. I will love my family. So I have a choice. I have a will.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But what I choose And what I came to on the steward leader thing was everything I have has been given to me. I really haven't originated much.
Yeah.
If anything.
Yeah.
Right. Everything comes from God.
Mm-hmm.
Everything comes from others. And I realize I'm really just a steward of everything that's been given to me. Now, what will I do? What will I do? Well, to be a steward leader, I will use the resources God's given me for the good of others.
Okay.
I will commit and love my family. So and by the way, the word leadership cracks me up because when I did the Maslow's LPU,
Mm-hmm.
at that time, there were 234 formal definitions of leader.
Oh.
So when we say leader, what are we talking about?
Right.
And I think the reason we don't define leader is so that we can keep talking about it.
Oh,
Mhm.
nice. Nice.
And what I don't like about that is what it does to people is it makes them very subjective, right? And you really are under something because you can't know. Well, there's nothing good about that.
Yeah.
So coming to the idea of steward leader is God has placed me at this time. He's given me, the way I'm looking at it is God's given me this life with Tammy that 44 years later we built a life. And so last year we bought a porch swing because what we talked about in our early 20s was growing old. And I'll try not to cry here. Growing old and sitting on a porch in a swing, talking about all that God has done.
Yeah, it's good.
Right. Now I'm not ready to die, so don't hear that. So
Okay.
I don't. It's
Good.
not
Good.
that.
Good.
Right. It's not that. It's like where does the credit go? Where's the understanding? And I can't even describe the pressure it takes off
Mm-hmm.
to realize or to think that all that you've had is you've been given. Now, what are you doing with what God's given you?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How can I be a good steward of who and what He's given me?
Yeah.
So that's just a little bit on the idea of steward leader.
I love that. I actually, back in we just did a gratitude series, and quoted Paul saying, "What do you have that you were not given?" And actually asked our church family, "What do you have that that was not given to you?"
Right.
And the answer is nothing.
Nothing.
And so
Right.
that is great perspective, and I love that, and I love the porch swing thing, and just we were going to do it, and now we're doing it, and that's beautiful. I love it.
It's cool. It's a good life.
That's good. So within that, maybe shift just a little bit, and I'm curious, this almost might be a dual layer question for you, being in the season of life you're in now versus maybe what it was previous. But when we say the word ministry, then what does that mean to you?
Yeah. Servant. It totally means the word servant to me.
Yeah.
Always has. That's the Greek understanding that I had. Even when I was, all the language in the church, but when I was the lead pastor, like here's an example. Whoever's going to be greatest among you, and I didn't mean like greatest, like I'm better than,
Mm-hmm.
but who's going to have the greatest weight of responsibility. I always use that idea of servant. So I'm the lead servant. So I'm the first servant. So I always parked in the furthest parking spot away from the office.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so fun because we had these interns. We had about 11 interns at Lighthouse Church there in Newberry Park, California. And I kept parking. And one of the guys came up and he said, "Why don't you park up here where they're designating you?" I said, we let other people who need that
Mm-hmm.
have that spot. And I told him, I said, "I'm the pastor, right?" And they said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, whoever's going to be greatest, be the servant of all." The next day, he beat me to it. And I had to park. I got to park beside him, but he caught something that we're the first to die, right? We're the first to give. We're the first. So leadership to me is initiating.
Yeah.
So we're the first to initiate movement toward God. We're the first to move towards sacrifice. We're the first. So to me, it's all in the, cast in servanthood as a steward of what God has given. So if He's given me in this place of influence, in this role of responsibility, then I want to be the first example of what Jesus would do.
Mm-hmm.
It's good. It's well, and it's speaking to me even because I often times in any kind of interpersonal or any kind of tough anything, or when it comes to reconciliation, very frequently I hear the Lord saying, you're going to have to be the one to start that,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
To lay down in that.
Correct.
As recent as this morning, I'm not going to lie to you, like in prayer time, like you're going to have to be the one to lay that down. Like, yes I do now. Again, that's good. So you talked a little bit about this, maybe how has your own journey within ministry or even life journey shaped or continue to shape that definition? You talked some but I mean, is there more when you look back, like you even mentioned before, I have some hindsight now of how that has evolved over time, or maybe even grown and become more
Yeah.
full.
One of the fun things about getting older is, just a deeper understanding, self-awareness. One of the things I talk about in coaching a lot, it's good for this context as well, is self-awareness leads to self-management.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good.
So if you really don't understand yourself, the you that God has created, if you don't understand the gifts and the abilities and the personality and all that God has given, you can do you can get out of bounds, really do things that you're not resourced to do.
Yeah.
Right? You're trying to do things that's not been given to you. That would be a way I would describe a lot of my early ministry focus, is this passion and love for God. I was just a Sunday school boy, very simple love for God. But to go to the Enneagram, I'm an Enneagram 4 with a strong 5 wing. But I see where I live the 3 out quite a bit. In other words, I would become, and for me, it was the dark side of the 3, that I would become what other people thought was good or popular or needed.
Yeah.
That would describe a lot, probably 20, 25 years. And let me tell you, that's exhausting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? I mean,
yeah.
That is to, you see something and your intent, the intent of your heart is good. You have love for God. You see this possibility. So you do the things that you think will get you to be seen as that, right?
Yeah.
But I just love to slow people down and say, okay, you see that, but let's look at how God's resourced you to be that.
Yeah.
Is this the best stewardship of your leadership?
Mm-hmm.
Because I believe everybody's a leader. I really do. I believe everybody has a leader, but we've got to, as Ephesians says so well, every part contributes to the whole. What part do you have to play?
Right.
Instead of getting this hierarchical approach and this elevator looking at leadership, I turned the pyramid upside down.
Yeah.
Right. And where the leaders are down here, the initial leaders, but then it just keeps going up. But playing that role and not knowing that's what I was doing, I had no clue, but now I do.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like, I started to say, stay in your lane, but I don't know. It's not like just a lane. It's just trust that who he's made you to be is enough. Trust that.
Mm-hmm.
Trust that. So know yourself so you can manage yourself and be a steward leader.
Yeah. Well, and to tie back to what you said earlier, co-creative versus collaborative, that's correct. I think that sets it perfectly, because there is no hierarchy within that. Like you said, I love that.
There's a lot of hierarchy and collaboration. Because that, people that have special knowledge gets to speak.
Right.
So,
and that obliterates it pretty much. It's
right.
There is no pyramid even. It's a level playing. That's great. That's great. So you've talked a bit about the coaching, and we have even on this, if anybody is a regular listener, they know that we've talked to other coaches. You and I have some of the same coaching background a little bit as well. But for those maybe who aren't aware, you are you're an executive coach, and so will you just pull out what that actually looks like, and what, for those
Yeah.
maybe who aren't aware, or even how that looks for you these days,
Sure.
and how you would even see that as ministry?
Yeah. Oh, I totally do. I'm a pastor, so
Yeah.
I get to do it, but the context is different. I'll share that
Yeah.
later. But executive coach, all that really means. I mean, you have all kinds of different. You typically put descriptive term in front of the word coach that gets you hireable. And let me just say this too, that years ago I started seeing, and this was again through my eyes in the way that I think. I started seeing I don't want to be one of those people that hangs on to a pulpit for money. I'm way too much of a hippie. I can't do ministry for money. I just don't think that way. And I started asking myself in my 40s, it's like, hey, when this run seems to be done as I steward my life, what do I want to give myself to? And I stumbled into coaching. I stumbled into it.
Really?
And we could talk about that another day.
Yeah.
But what I started doing was I started understanding about, and I started talking to business people. And I went through a coaching certification, and in my coaching certification for evidence-based coaching at Fielding Graduate University in Santa Barbara. And I went there because it's beautiful in Santa Barbara. And they had a great coaching.
There you go.
They had an excellent coaching program. But I didn't know who was going to be there. Didn't have a clue. But the HR director for T-Mobile and AT&T were in my cohort. And the HR directors were learning to be coaches as well.
Oh, well.
And so I went up to each of them individually and I said, hey, I'm an independent guy. What is it going to take for me to be hireable to you? Right. And so they said, you need to have a master's degree and at least a PCC, which is professional certified coach, which means you have at least 500 coaching hours with International Coaching Federation. So that's just a governing body to keep the ethic. They're the ethical group that helps people know what coaching is.
Right. Right.
So if you're a PCC, a master's, we'll consider you. And that opened up something for me that I continued to pursue. And I ended up getting a Ph.D. in human development but here's the why. I wanted to study God's creation of humans to know how to build them up, again, as Ephesians talks about, build people up, not beat people up. How can I build them up?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
To where they know they're built up, right? It transfers into their knowledge. I did that because as I began to check out all these organizations, there's organizations that they have millions of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars to pour into the development of their employees. And they want to hire people with at least a master's degree and like a PCC.
Yeah. Huh.
So I wanted to become hireable to those people and not be dependent upon the church because I love the church. I've pastored and I want to see church go to ministry. I do believe in building up our people and having some intentionality about that. I really, really do. So I came up with this little business philosophy, if I can jump there real quick.
Absolutely.
That's 60%, like 60% of my time. I've positioned myself and I give myself to be hired by these organizations that they're going to spend a lot of money on investing in their employees and their people. They're going to they pay really well. So I'm giving 60% of my time to those guys so that 40% of my time can go to nonprofit, individuals, or startups. And I don't care about the money. That's that pastor side, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to pay somebody. So I want to be one of those somebodies.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it just anyway for me. And now I didn't have a clue about how that would align with the first verse of scripture I ever remember in my life, quoting, and is let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven.
Right. Right.
The way I understand that scripture now is I really want to be proficient and really good at being a coach. I believe when people feel that connection and I resource and through our conversation, they get energized for their life. there's an often time they experience God, right? So let your light so shine that they may see your good works. So do well. Do it really seriously, a really good job. That gives people the opportunity to see God. And with that, I'm finding so much fulfillment. If I would have known this, I probably would have done it 15 years before because it's so fun.
Yeah. And go ahead.
I was just in all of this. Who would you say who needs this type of coaching? You have something to give, and you want to give this to the world. Who does that apply to?
People with the growth. The quick answer is people with a growth mindset. In other words, there's more to me than what I've known.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I have more to offer than what I've given.
Mm-hmm.
I believe God has created me for more. Because I would say it this way, and I heard this from Dennis Easter, so I'll give him credit. When you go through this Ph.D. stuff, it's like you just have to give credit to people.
Right.
It's like cite your sources. It's just there, right? But counselors go back to heal. Mentors pour into you.
Yeah.
Spiritual directors, I'm adding to Dennis's on this one, but spiritual directors engage you to perceive where God is in this part of your journey, right? Mm-hmm. But coaches engage now to go forward. Counselors go back to heal, coaches go forward. Mm-hmm. You haven't been in the future.
Right.
You haven't. You don't know what it's like.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of transformative learning that I studied in my doctorate, I was just fascinated to see the anxiety about really thinking about going forward. But I studied a year in neuroscience, and it's like, you know what? Your brain manages everything that you know.
Mm-hmm.
But when you go to know something new, the brain doesn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
Because the brain doesn't have the data to know what this new thing that you're wanting to do is going to turn out. And as a coach, I can always tell when someone's really serious about moving forward with some aspect of their life, because they start getting nervous. They start going, yes, but, yes, I want to do that, but it's yes,
mm-hmm.
but.
Mm-hmm.
I went, you know what? So I tell them, I said, I can tell you're really serious, and your brain knows that you've really made up your mind. You're really going to go forward.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not helping you. And so I teach them the simple little thing of yes and.
Mm-hmm.
Your brain won't shut up about what it's afraid of. Your amygdala never forgets.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you got to acknowledge it. It's like the screaming little kid that if you acknowledge it, it'll calm down sometimes. So yes, I've never done this, and it is scary. Yes, that's true. And I really believe this is where the Lord's leading me, and I need to get myself equipped and resourced to be a good steward leader.
Yeah.
Of where he's leading me, right?
Yeah.
So coaching has become this, in a way, a catalyst for other people. I get to experience other people's transformation.
Yeah.
Kind of addicted to it, actually.
It's fun when you start to see, just as pastoring a church, for every time you see someone take another step forward, it's
That's
like
right.
I celebrate just as much as the person with them, because you see life transformation happening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right.
So I would say the typical leader of our podcast, or listener of our podcast, does have wants to have a growth mindset.
We have a typical listener.
Well, I would.
Well, hang on. We're supposed to celebrate the win, so we need to celebrate that right now. Yeah. We have a typical listener.
Yeah.
All right. Woo. All right. Go ahead.
I would say that they have a growth mindset. One, because they're listening to the podcast.
Yes. Yes.
Not to toot our own horn or anything.
They're already very, very awesome.
It's good.
Yeah.
Anyway. How would someone move, or what would be, in your opinion, how would someone move to that next step of reach out, get a coach, or how do they start that? Because again, it's comfortable sitting in one space and not doing the new thing. So what would be the next step for someone that's thinking about that?
Great question. I have a bit of a bias that
Sure.
I want to acknowledge before I say it, and that's get a coach that really has some type of a certification. Because I mean, I did it too. I did it in the church. You know, coach has become, or years ago, it became a buzzword. Everybody's a coach.
Mm-hmm.
That's exaggeration. So many people became a coach.
Well,
who
and
can
they
coach you forward.
not to jump in, but I also think they think mentoring is coaching, and there's a very very big
It is
difference.
not.
Yeah, sorry, keep going.
Well,
keep going.
and Brenton, bring me back to this if I don't go there, because let me give the segue. I actually just talked to my wife recently. They're instituting a coaching thing at Portland Seminary where she's the executive dean, and they're going to have a coaching piece to this. And I coach 42 students at UCLA that are in MBA programs. And what UCLA understands, this is just a human thing. It's a human development thing.
Yeah.
That if I'm taking on new knowledge, one of the worst things that can happen to you, one of the worst things, is to be able to quote the knowledge that you've gained. Quoting knowledge doesn't mean you're living it out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. So this is where coaching is more specific about development. And the way I would describe development to you, if a person's really going to grow and develop, first, they need to have an experience that's new to them.
Mm-hmm.
But here's where the coach can't do it for them. The teacher can't do it for them. The preacher can't do it for them. The second thing, ready? And that is insight. So when I'm coaching someone and they say they want to go forward, one of the really important things is to get to understand, how is this new for you? How is this different than what you've done before? To get them to realize, I haven't done this,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And when insight, typically we say it pops for them, when the insight happens, that's when they can see how they can take a step toward application, which is wisdom.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? It's knowledge, it's new knowledge that gets rightly applied to my life. The coach does not know. I hope people catch this. I hope I'm saying it to where people can catch this.
Yeah.
You can't know what they need.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right.
And matter of fact, when you know what they need and you give it to them, it's not typically theirs.
Right.
They're doing it for this guy and it's so special for somebody to see me that way. Well, I want to unspecialize that a little bit.
That's good.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, no. God made you to see. God has made you that way, right? So if I'm coming back to what Brenton said, it's for a person that when they realize, you know what, I really want to be different and do something different. I really do think they need to get a coach that has some type of certification that can help them know they're not just going to tell me a bunch of stuff. I don't want somebody else. I want somebody to ask me good questions. I want somebody to draw out of me, right? Mentors pour in, coaches draw out.
Right. Yep.
Right. Can I give you you guys mind if I give you an example? Or am I talking too much? Are we all right?
Please, no, please
go. You're literally the guest on the podcast. You cannot talk too much. Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is one of those things that, like, it was one of my big surprises. I was pastoring, but I was transitioning out. We were doing this succession study with Kevin Lewis at Lighthouse. It was really cool how that was going. I finally got it right. My last one, I got it right. But I had tripped into this work with the Department of Homeland Security. A branch of Department of Homeland Security is called Immigration Program Office, IPO. And I'm working with this group of people, and it's, I'm risking, is this going to work? And it's going well. And the chief of staff came to me and he said, would you talk to my wife? She's not part of this team, but I would love what you do. I think it would really be beneficial to my wife. And sure. So we, made the arrangements, and I had an assessment that I did called the Berkman. And so she took the Berkman, and we were doing the debrief, which is kind of a coaching experience about a person, really about self-awareness to where they can really manage themselves better. And she ended up, I had no idea what was going on, but this is the beauty of being a pastor, listening to the Holy Spirit, but not making it about you. The coach isn't about the coach. The coach is about the client.
Mm-hmm.
I think the pastor needs to be about the people,
Yeah, that's
right?
good.
So
That's
I
good.
think this is really
Oh,
transfers over,
100%.
right?
That's good.
But about 40 minutes in, it seemed like out of the blue. But when a person when they start walking out of the fog, they'll see something, and that's where they have questions. And about 40 minutes in, I mean, this came out of the blue. She said, "Do you believe in Jesus?" I'm a pastor and a coach. I kept my coaching hat on, trusting. And I'm telling you guys, this is where I've learned how the Holy Spirit works in ways that we need to just completely be present and out of the way.
Yeah.
Right? Be with them, but not lead or influence them. Let them and the Holy Spirit have this moment. And she said to me, "What?" She said, "Do you believe in Jesus?" And so I kept my coaching hat on. And I said, "Well, more importantly, what do you believe about Jesus?" "I miss him." "What would you say to him if he was here right now?"
Wow.
Bleh, right? I mean, about 2-3 minutes, she just poured her heart out. Coaching, keep the coaching hat on. I said, what are you feeling? Right? What do you feel after she prayed? I said, "What are you feeling? What are you experiencing right now?" And she said, "It reminds me of," and started talking about when she was walking closely with the Lord and doing her devotions and all this kind of stuff. What can you do tomorrow that will remind you of today?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's good.
She didn't know I'd pastored for 38 years. She did not need to know that I pastored for 38 years because that wasn't about me.
Yeah.
Right.
But I'm facilitating a moment, right? Tammy and I, we created a consultancy called Incrementum, little by little, step by step. And what we talk about is facilitating growth. You don't cause it. You're just there and you try to be present, but out of the way.
Yeah.
For people as they begin to take those steps. So to me, when a coach really understands if a person really wants to move forward, then they have to have somebody that walks alongside like a best friend. But you don't have the information they need to know. You believe they have all they need within them. And great questions at the right time can draw that out for them to have insight. And then the practical thing about what are the next steps you can do that would start moving toward that direction.
Yeah.
Right? To where it becomes an application for them and wisdom.
So Gary, to jump in a little bit, I want to pull back on something else that you'd said in the kickoff, especially for you, it was like kind of a recent revelation. I think you said something to the effect of, I tried to write this down, so help me out, but that you realized that a goal has an end, and it was kind of a new thing, and then it like, well, wait a second, kind of a, how do we maintain, or that type of thing. Could you, drawing on what you just said, especially as you're walking people through, and then maybe even having that revelation moment of becoming, insight into wisdom type of a thing, and then maybe seeing that endpoint, but then what? You know what I mean? And maybe drawing on what you had said earlier, how you took that to the next step as well.
Yeah. People, I have a bit of a bias to say we don't talk about development, and we put everything in the context of leadership, right? Even just leading yourself. Mm-hmm. I just think we need to double click on it. As I mentioned the double click earlier, and it expands.
I love that. I might start using that, to be honest with you.
Right?
So
no, go for it. I was walking through an airport, but this is what some people do. It's like I'm walking through an airport and there's this little kid, I don't know, man, 3-4 years old, has this magazine, and the kid has his fingers on the magazine, and he's trying to, like, he's thinking it's like an iPad, like, and he has his fingers on it trying to expand the picture, Yes. And I think that's, in some ways, that's a lot of people, and I'm saying this out of love and concern. A lot of people, a lot of Christians, the way we quote unquote disciple people is we keep giving them more information. Dear God, we've given people, they don't need more information. They need transformation.
Yeah.
I know that sounds cute, right? It's not just cute. No, they need to believe that God has made them capable of being different than what they've known.
Yeah.
And oftentimes we haven't valued the human side of things. When I'm in this neuroscience stuff, learning about how the brain works, I'm telling you, I said it earlier that God is smart. I mean, it's making God look brilliant. What the neuroscientists are finding out, it's so cool to know this. So here's a geeky statement to answer what you're talking about,
Yeah.
Chad. Your brain builds brilliant strategies for you in your subconscious to keep what is precious close and to keep what is dreaded away. Let's say it again, okay?
Yeah.
When something is really precious to you, your brain notes it and says, I'll help you protect that memory. When you're afraid of something, the brain says, I'll protect you. I won't let you go there. But when a person says, I want to move forward in my life and consider whatever it is for them, and they're going to really grow, they have that growth mindset, the brain's going, we don't know how that's going to turn out. And it's remembering all this other stuff that's desired and dreaded. Ronald Heifetz out of Harvard wrote a lot about the adaptive leadership, he calls it. And he talks about the desired image and the dreaded image. And those two things are competing inside of you. It's like two siblings and that's where the yes, but is, right?
Yeah.
I really want to do this, but, right? We got to get, the but is a trigger for the amygdala, right? That keeps us in fearville or keeps us in threat, keeps us emotional. And by the way, your IQ goes down a minimum of 15 points when you're functioning out of your amygdala.
Interesting.
Because it's about surviving.
Yeah.
It's about being okay in the moment. It's not about growing. So it takes a lot of growth. It takes a lot of courage to be able to do this, right?
Yeah.
So now I've gotten all distracted with this neuro stuff. I want to make sure I answer what you said. What were you asking me? I want to make sure I get there.
Just the kind of that self-realization of, like you said, I've come to the goal, right? So I think you used about how I lost a certain amount of weight, and and then you allow that to kind of slip back in, type of a thing, right. But then moving on beyond that, right? So that doesn't take place.
Well, give you another example of it. So I'm in Boston getting this, because what I just quoted to you is a process called immunity to change,
yes.
Like IMM, immunity to change.
Yes.
And I was introduced to that by Dan Steward at LPU, by the way. It was really cool to read the book. And, I didn't realize you get exposed to these type of things. And I was just that's the way I think. And so I was very attracted to find out more. I ended up going and becoming a facilitator of the ITC process, as they call it. And this gal, so they broke us off, and there was 41 people in the room, and they're leading us through this process that we're working on our own map, which is 4 columns. And the first thing you got to look at is, what do you want? Because that's really what moves you forward in helping people. What do you really want for your life? That's sometimes is 2 or 3 coaching sessions for people to narrow it down to one thing that they want to move forward in.
Yeah.
And I said, I wanted to get fit. And so the second thing you ask is, well, what are you doing instead of getting fit? Like, what are the things that you're giving yourself that occupies space that you could use to get fit with, but you're not? What are you doing that gets in the way? And then also, what are you not doing that would help? So what are you doing, not doing? And I said, well, I won't give up my Southern diet. I won't quit drinking Cokes. I don't drink water. I won't exercise, and I don't hang out with people who do, right? And so without getting into too much detail, the third column is really it's really fascinating. It's a process called reconsolidation. What you're doing is you're backing from your memory, you're backing into your amygdala to find out what your amygdala is protecting for you. Okay? It's not that you're going to find out you're this slug and this creep. There's this good reason to you that your brain is locked in on that is in your subconscious. And there's a way to find that out. What do you want? What are you doing, not doing instead? Take one of those things and flip it. So I won't give up my Southern diet. And so this gal with a New York accent said, Gary, what if you didn't? What if you didn't? And it was awesome. It was just, I get distracted with accents like London and all this stuff.
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
it, right?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But you guys, I had a thought came from my amygdala that I had never consciously perceived. If I didn't eat my Southern diet, I wouldn't be honoring my mother.
Huh. Interesting.
And I'm like, I literally just sat back. I went, what? Because it came to my consciousness.
Wow.
What I didn't know, she had passed away 4 years before. Alzheimer's for 14 years. The slow goodbye, right?
Yeah.
Super close to my mom. What I didn't realize is when I ate German chocolate cake, she always had double icing. What I didn't realize is typically in the afternoon is when we would go get a Baby Ruth or a Snicker and a Coke.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
The Southern diet was I would ask for more cake and she'd say, no, you got to get healthy. And then she'd bring me another piece with a lot of icing on it, come around from behind me, put it down and kiss me on the cheek and say, that's for my boy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Precious.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What I didn't know was my brain had made the decision that I'm going to protect that memory for you, Gary. When I realized that's what was going on, it was 2 + 2 = 4. I don't have to eat bad and die early to honor my mom. Right? I don't have to do that. I can honor my mother in different ways. And by the way, I have chosen to tell this part of the story as a way of honoring my mom for loving me and caring for me.
Yeah.
In the way that she knew how. She was providing for me. And I don't discredit anything about the food, although that's why I was addicted to sweets forever, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But I've chosen to live differently. And what I didn't realize is to choose to live differently, it felt like I was saying something negative about my mother or my family, and that is not the case. But until that's conscious, you don't have a way of processing that, right?
Yeah.
So all that became so catalytic for me. So it was really easy for me to eat good, went to a nutritionist, blah, 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 lost the weight. And when I got fit, what I didn't recognize is my mind said, great job. Mission accomplished. So that body of work for like that year and a half, whatever it was, now has become great data for me to look back at and went, oh, no, the goal we set is really important. That was like a first phase because I got back into eating. And what's hilarious is I ended up moving back to Arkansas, Northwest Arkansas. And this is where all the sweets happened, right? Mm-hmm. It's back in the South. And I mean, for the people that are waiters and waitresses from the South, you get called sweetie and hun more than you ever want to. It's hilarious, right? Oh, sweetie, you want sweet tea with that? Oh, we have the best sweet tea. Brings back all the memories, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Until you have the conscious way of understanding what your patterns are. I'd say it this way in coaching, you can't change a pattern you can't see. You've got to be able to pull up and see the pattern. So the investigation of, what do you normally do? And seeing that pattern, when you see the pattern, that's when you can interrupt it. And you can experiment on what the interruption looks like. You do it several different ways to find out what works for you. And then I call it pattern recognition, pattern interruption, and then pattern redirection. Now let's redirect that thing. So all that to say, when I look back and I saw what that goal had such a limit, now I realize, well, what is my goal? What do I really want? And it was for me, it was really honestly to live healthy, to honor God with how I'm treating this body that He's given me as a steward leader, to love my family and be healthy. And by the way, I think what triggered this one was, the annual physical.
Yes.
And the doctor said, okay, your cholesterol is 0.4 you're at 0.4 away from us putting you on medication. Let's have the conversation about what kind of medication do you want to start with. And I honestly, it didn't scare me. I got curious. I thought, well, I know I'm eating all these sweets. I wonder if I don't, what will happen? That was the trigger for me to think, what do I really want, which is live healthy. And it was pretty crazy, guys. In 6 months, my cholesterol went way down. So in my case, it wasn't just aging. It was what I was eating that put me 0.4 away from getting medication. Now I'm in the middle of the pack, like a long ways away from that need. Mm-hmm. So it just verified to me. And I hope I'm not wearing you out with this, but the idea is this:
not at all.
You can read all the books, you can know everything you want to know, but until you have personal insight to be able to move toward wisdom for yourself, mm-hmm. knowledge is not going to do it for you.
Yeah,
you got to have a space where you can look for, what do you really want? I heard a coach say it this way. Here's coaching. What's in the way, right? I'm sorry, what do you want? What's in the way? What will you do?
Yeah, that's good.
Yep.
That's good.
What do you want? What's in the way? What do you want?
What are you going to do? Yeah. Thank you for helping unpack that. And especially even just allowing us some of your story and personal transparency that goes even further. So I want to say thank you for that.
Absolutely.
That means a lot. Quick sidebar. Mm-hmm. How are you on time? I know we've gone over. I want to make sure you're good. Everybody else good? We're good. Good.
At some point, I'll just tell you, lunch might come through my door.
Well, that's nice.
But
wow.
What are we having?
Yeah. I think today is the Taco Bell $5 box, and talking about being healthy. So here's a side story to that.
This might be the pre-interview intro right here. This is so great. This is so good.
So we left some food here at the church to be eaten today, and a mouse decided to visit, and so now I'm taking care of. Yeah. So my plan,
taking care of God's creation.
I had a plan in mind. We set out everything, and well,
see, Brenton, today is it's the first Wednesday of the month, so you know what that means, senior luncheon. So
yeah,
here we go. This is we're excited. It's one of my favorite.
It's like noodles.
That's right.
White on white noodles with gravy and.
Yeah.
I'm in Indiana, so that's how every carry-in is for us.
I said, it's and it's gonna have corn here and some type of meat, which we're doing the meat, but it doesn't matter. All right. I just have a couple other questions for some. I wanted to get to the kind of the parallels of ministry versus the different kind of contexts, if that's okay, and then we'll just kind of wrap it up after that. But Brenton, do you have anything else that you're wanting to?
No, I'm just like finding the questions inside of, really thinking about who's listening and how can we relate right back. So I think we're doing a great job.
And Gary, this is fantastic. So rich. So cool. Thank you. So thank you so much. Okay. So as ministry leaders, there can be kind of this singular mindedness in context. And I want to read something actually off your website, which I hope is current, right? I know sometimes So but it said that you've coached in nonprofit settings, corporate structures, government agencies, and faith-based communities, walking alongside people as they become authors. Go ahead.
Their story.
Authors
of their own story.
Yeah. And you said change makers of their own experience. I mean, I love that. I love that. So having said that, then I'm curious from your perspective, what are some of the parallels then that you would see leading with those within the different spheres, specifically outside of ministry, that maybe they don't always recognize, so as far as ministry leaders but there's parallel things that maybe we're not seeing that we really should be taking mind of and advantage
of. The smile and the laughs, AJ. This might be one of the first editable things.
Oh, nice.
This might be editable
or not,
where you'd edit it, right? Give you some work to do. I think one of the more challenging things that the church has done that limits people's growth, if I'm understanding what you're asking,
Yeah.
In the church, one of the things that limits people's growth is doctrine.
Yeah. Keep going.
It's
Double click,
right.
as they say. Yeah.
Right. Expand that magazine.
That's right.
It's no, when we tell people what to believe, and then they memorize what to believe, instead of engaging in a conversation to where they discover what they believe at this time.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a bit arrogant on our part for us to believe that we can capture what needs to be known about God in however many statements.
Yeah.
Right?
That's good.
And we take them, and honestly, it's a collision with spirit-filled organizations to do this, because there's more to God than we've known. And as you continue to walk, he reveals more. And it's not always new stuff. It's typically deeper stuff to us, more personal. So to tell people this is what you need to know when it comes to knowing about God, and they're memorizing that, to me, they're distracted from the curiosity, certainty. Let me go back to brain science for a second.
Yeah, please.
The prefrontal cortex is the most intelligent, strategic, logical part of you. It's the most intelligent version. What fuels the prefrontal cortex is curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
And the spirit-filled life is what is the Spirit saying?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So to memorize what God, this stuff about God is certainty, which gets in the way of curiosity.
Yeah.
Right? I know that's debatable, but let's have it. Right. Let's have the debate. Let's get back in here and let's discover things about God. Let's not make it about us and our doctrine, because doctrine is ending up dividing. And you know what?
Yeah.
I think it's because we don't know how to have conversations. We don't know how to discern together anymore.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'm saying that historically, as the church, we need to be able to discern and talk and pray and have dialogue. Dialogue is when I listen to you until I can say back to you what you believe at this time. And you go, yes, you know me. Then it's my turn. You listen to me until you know where I'm at. That's dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
At best, we have debates. And it's typically not much of a debate. We just tell from a pulpit, right?
Yeah.
And it's terrible. It stunts the growth of people.
We're not editing any of that. I think that's really good. Well, no, it's not to unpack too much and name names or anything like that, but there was a situation even here within the last year, right? And that was it wanted to be a debate of this is very cut and dry, and the person that we were trying to interact with did not like the answer of, well, why can't I just pray and ask? Why can't I just ask
right?
the Holy Spirit? And it was like, no, this is it. End of statement. That's it. No more. And it's like, well, at what point did I stop asking the Lord? I mean, it doesn't mean that I don't know the difference between right and wrong, but there's also things where I do still need to seek, a higher power than that of my own. Right. And right. I think it's great. I think you nailed it.
Yeah. Wow, we got to let people grow. Right? I mean, we're designed for it. But we need to look at how are we helping people grow and develop, not just helping people learn more information. Hey, Mutual of Omaha did a study. And I forget how many people it was. It's been a while since I read this, but all these people were told by a doctor, you're going to die unless you change the way you eat. And after 1 year, 92% of them had not followed through. You're going to die if you don't change the way you eat. You're going to die.
Yeah.
That's it. That's information.
Yeah.
They took those people for the next year and they put them in a community and got them together with a chef once a week, and they learned to cook together. And it wasn't about the cooking. Of course, they did the healthy stuff, right? But the point was together.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they learned something together. At the end of 1 year, 97% of them were living differently. It's not about the information.
That's good.
Right.
It's about community, right? So it's experience
Yeah.
leads to insight. Oh, I can cook that. I'm learning to do that, right? And now when you do it, that's the wisdom.
Yeah.
So if we really think about developing people, we're not going to be standing up talking heads anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I love it goes back to, we're talking about the steward leader. You know, what greater thing to steward than those that are under your care and
I think
shepherd.
God said something about that. Jesus said, "You're
Yeah.
the under shepherd."
That's
right?
right.
It's my sheep. It's his sheep. It's his church.
Right.
That's
right.
Right.
That's good. So now we're all evaluating how we do church and everything. So thank you. You broke the podcast. Congratulations.
Right. Hey.
It only took 2 seasons. Thank you. I appreciate it. So.
Or fix it.
Glad to be a help.
No, it's good. It actually reminds me. I had a little bit of revelation. I think I mentioned this in another sermonizing podcast or something like that, but talked about, for me, if you're coming from the approach of, and it's not to put everyone in a box, right? But there still can be a bit of a consumeristic mindset, especially when it comes to messages and what's in it for me.
Yeah.
And so if you come at from the approach of what is in it for me and what do I then need to do to get it, that has transformed even how I deliver a message and that type of thing. It's a lot less of this is what the word says, this is what I know, that kind of a thing, versus hey, what do you think and what is God saying to you in this and what is your response, that kind of a thing.
Sounds like Jesus, actually.
Praise the Lord. We're doing it right. Praise the Lord. That's so good. Well, as we are wrapping up, and then especially now even kicking off and heading into a year, which, to be honest, can be maybe have some uncertainty. Maybe is that a fair way of saying that?
Oh yeah,
a simple way of saying that. I like to end things on a bit of more of a positive note, even with this, and not just taking the information. But what are some of the things as you look ahead? Maybe it's from the church, maybe it's outside of it, maybe it's all together. What are some things that are encouraging you, or that you actually have a renewed hope and inspired to see play out?
Great question. Thank you. Recently, the church we pastored in Newberry Park Lighthouse just celebrated turning 40, and they asked me to do a video for the birthday celebration.
Awesome.
And I was just looking and just praying and listening, right? And I came to, and I was noticing how often that God talks about generation to generation. And what I noticed was, and I think what just gotten me, it's so settled that God will do what God needs to do to reach this generation.
That's good. Yeah.
And what he does to reach this generation is different than what he did past to reach my generation. And it's different than what he did to reach my dad's generation. Same God, same intent to be in relationship with us. But the culture of our world, I do believe, affects the approach of God to communicate with us. So I think it's kind of crazy, but I'm really excited to see the move of God and what reaches this generation.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so curious.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated to see, because I know God's doing it. I know God will. I don't look to always people that are in with a load on them to do that. It's more like, where are people engaging? And if they're growing, right?
Yeah.
If they're changing, if they're experiencing personal transformation, what's that environment that's, the place for that? And so that's, I think, what I'm most excited about in 2024, because 2023 I felt like I blinked 4 times and it's gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? It just, for some reason, this year just really flew by.
Yeah.
I hope that's not what getting older means, because it's like, this was too quick. So that's coming too fast.
I think it might a little bit, but that's okay.
I don't know, right?
I noticed that the older I get,
Yeah, it's so quick. But no, I'm just fascinated to see the environments that God is leading steward leaders into, that they steward those environments where the life of God is experienced among his people. I'm really curious to see what it looks like and what he's doing, because I don't need God to do what we did to reach the generation. I don't need that validation. It's not about me, right? It's not about our day. No, it's about God. It's about his day and the day he's creating for the people today.
That's good. I am curious with you. That's good. Gary, this has been incredible.
Thank you.
I have written a lot of notes for me personally, and hopefully listener has as well. I know Brenton has, because that's what he does when he's on these things. and that's not a knock. That's actually, it's good stuff.
Yeah, so, I've got a good page of notes. So
thank you.
Well, thank you guys for the opportunity. It's fun to talk about this stuff. Yeah, God is good. Amen.
Amen. Well, thank you. You're the best. We're so thankful for you and your leadership and how you continue to pastor others, and listen to what God is doing. And so thank you.
Awesome. All right. Hey, bless you guys. Thank you.
Hey, you too.
Thank you.
Man, Brenton, that was big. That was awesome. What do you think?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. And every time he talked about brain science, I lit up.
Yeah.
This is something I enjoy.
I could see the talk of human anatomy just totally lighting your face. No, like the nerdiness of it. And I love how you just said, can I go nerdy for just a minute here? Because that actually what it does is help bring context to a lot of this, that it's, a lot of times, especially as ministers, we like to remove the whole body from the soul and, that type of thing. And it's so interconnected. But what I love is that it's, especially in my own coaching experience, is that oftentimes, when we ask the question, well, what do you need to do that? Well, I'll just do it. Well, if that's the case, you would have done it by now, right? And so this gives kind of that practical, the way he unpacked just coaching and then even next steps, and just continue to ask questions, and within ministry asking questions. I mean, that's stuff that, man, I don't care who's listening, you can take and run with right now where you're at. And so good.
Yep.
So good. So, listener, as you can see, we're trying new things, new season, new things. A little bit of a debrief after the message. Listen to me. I'm already in church speak here. Like, can we take an offering here in just a few minutes? And we'll leave this in because it's fun. But we're just so excited. We hope to still be doing this right now. I'm really looking forward to this next season. We've got some things lined up that we're excited about, been dreaming about, and implementing some even new episode types coming up here as well. Once again, I want to say thank you to Gary Dunahoo for gifting us his time. If you'd like to connect further with Gary, we've made ways to do so available in this episode's show notes. And if you'd like to connect with us further, support the podcast, or sign up for show updates, just go to withouthatingit.com to get started. And don't forget to subscribe to Ministry Without Hating It, wherever it is that you get your podcasts, so you don't miss out on future episode releases. Hey, thanks again for listening. Brenton, what do we say? We'll see you again next time.
Not next week. Next time,
which might be in a month, might be in 2 weeks. I don't know.
Yep.
We'll see.
Sounds good.
We'll see you then.